This is Red Podcast, episode 255. In front of me, a big script. Got to turn into an audiobook. Going to talk about how to do that. That's coming up.
This is the Red Podcast. How to reach more people, establish your authority, and deliver your message. Here's your host, David Hooper.
David Hooper, Red Podcast. Thank you for joining me. Over the last few episodes, I've been taking you through the process of getting my book released. And after that, I'll take you through the process of launching it, hopefully selling tons of copies, helping a lot of people with it. The final edit is back. I'm going to go into that story on this episode. Before I get to it, though, let me give you a forward update. On the last episode, I talked to you about the forward that I wanted to have done. I have approached a few people about doing it, got turned down mildly and ignored. That's been my forward outreach so far. And I'd given up on doing a forward for this book. I said, this book doesn't need a forward. I mean, it would be nice to have it, but it really doesn't need it. I've got enough credibility myself, right? Well, maybe. We'll find out. But any boost I could have would be appreciated. And I think it would be helpful because I do want to reach a lot of people with this book. So I said, I'm gonna do it if I can, but not worry about it. I'm not gonna not release this book because it doesn't have a forward. Perfect, the enemy of good, as you know. So I'd given up on doing a forward for this book because of the lack of response and disinterest that I'd had from somebody wanting to do the forward. Then I thought of somebody else. Approached a guy. This is a guy who's getting about 5 million downloads per month. He has had his podcast successfully ported into a television series. Cool guy. I'm not sure if I had talked to him before, but I'd heard him in interviews and thought I could reach out to him. So I did, and heard back rather quickly that he is not interested in doing this book. And that's not a huge surprise, honestly, because, I think I might have talked to him before, but he doesn't know me, and I don't know him, and I'm unproven in this market. It's not like I'm a celebrity in podcasting or anything. Cold email, he doesn't know me, I didn't go through a friend, just kind of a last-minute punt to say, hey, man, I'm getting ready to do this thing. The final edit is back. Are you interested in getting involved before I go to the finalizing of it? And he said no. He's not. He's too busy doing podcasts, and he's got other projects on the plate. So I said, fine, thank you for your time. I think it's one of the best things that I learned from my work in the music industry and really entertainment industry in general is that you get turned down a lot. You are turned down more than you are turned up. Whatever the opposite of turning down is, you get more no's than yeses. And that's for a lot of reasons. Sometimes it is because somebody just doesn't like you or the project isn't a match. And sometimes it's like this one, they don't know who you are. You haven't done a good job of selling them. And I look at that as a challenge. So I'm not worried about that. Onward. And this thing is coming along wonderfully. I got my final edit back. There were lots of notes in the final edit. And a quick overall one, she said this. She said, I think this is a great book. You have a rare talent, the ability to write the same way you would speak to the reader. A lot of successful, regularly published writers can't do this. And of course, there were little things in her notes. One of the ones that I think symbolizes what a good copy editor is doing for you is, I'd mentioned Moe's, the Mexican restaurant, where you go in there and they say, welcome to Moe's. And I always think of Moe's as being an Atlanta chain. That's the first time that I ever heard of it. And I believe that Moe's is from Atlanta. I don't know why I think that. Maybe it's just because I was down there and I ate at one maybe 20 years ago. So Atlanta, right? Southeast United States. I called it Moe's Southeastern Grill. She said, no such thing. I looked it up. It's actually Moe's Southwest Grill. It's not even Southwestern. It's Moe's Southwest Grill. So I had a lot of little comments like that. The fact that there weren't any major issues has a lot to do with the editors that I had before her. Wendy Wallace, Paula Phelps, Cindy Baldhoff. Had 3 great content editors helping me get the content where it needed to be. This book has been read over between me and the content editors, probably 20 times. And I was pretty comfortable with where it was, but you just don't know. having a lot riding on this book. I wanted to have one final pass through, though. Got a guy that I've worked with for probably 6 or 8 projects. He was unable to do it. I went to a couple of places looking for people, took referrals, found a woman named Jody Compton via a freelancer site. She was also an author. That's one of the things that I liked about her. She'd worked on other nonfiction projects. That was the second thing that I liked about her. And she had a newspaper background, meaning that she's seen a lot of words. She was good with working on a deadline. She was good at finding things that I was going to have possibly a problem with in this book, such as most Southeastern grill, good at fact-checking like that. And this set of skills, the attention to detail, going through so many words, being able to do it quickly, that's why I went with her. She was wonderful. Jody Compton is her name. Look her up if you need this kind of work. Super easy to work with, great communication. This book has had a lot of ups and downs, as any creative project does. But working with people like Wendy, Paula, Cindy, Jody, it makes the process so much better. And coming out of it, it's like, man, I was ready. I'm ready to go back and do another one, because once you find your team, they make the process so much easier. And that's really what kind of the problem of getting this book out quicker was. It's like I didn't have the direction, didn't have the team. And once you get the direction and the team in place, it makes things a lot quicker. It's going to be a lot easier for me to do it next time. Knock on wood. Anyway, Jody got this final edit back to me, going through that now. Now what? That's the feeling of where I am. The next step, once I'm through the edits, I've got to get the manuscript to layout. I've got to finalize the cover, do the cover copy. The first thing I'm going to do, though, because I don't want to quit 5 minutes before the miracle, is I'm going to voice the audiobook. That gives me one more time to go through this thing word by word. And that's a bit intimidating to me. It's a bit intimidating for a couple of reasons. One of them is the size of it, 93,000 words. I've done this 3 times, I think, 4 if you count an audio-only book that I've put out. In the past, I work at about a 5-to-1 ratio, meaning that I'm in the studio for 5 hours recording, editing, doing whatever it takes to get that final 1 hour of finished audio. The last book, I hired that out. It was such a pain for me to voice my own books, I brought in a pro voiceover guy. If you're familiar with P90X, you may remember that workout. It was very popular a few years ago. A lot of people were doing it. Had the voice of P90X, not of like one of the fitness guys, but this is the guy who did all the marketing. A great voice, much smoother than I am, and he was able to knock it out very quickly. But why I'm not doing that for this book is because this book is about podcasting. And I feel it's important to practice what I preach, especially with a book about podcasting, because I'm telling you to put your personality into your podcast. I'm telling you to use your voice. And what kind of book on podcasting would it be if I'm not bringing my personality into it, if I'm not bringing my voice into it? So I've got no choice. 93,000 words in front of me, plenty of blank tape, if you will, to record all my mistakes, and then I've got to edit it. So that's my life for the next month. And one of the ways that that's going to be different from the books that I've done in the past is in the past, I've always gone into a pro studio. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA, within a mile of my house, probably 100 studios. Live right down the street from Music Row. I could literally walk to any number of great studios, find a great engineering guy, make me sound just amazing. This one I'm going to do in my studio. I've got great equipment here, but between us, I really don't know how to use it. I mean, I'm not a complete idiot. I sort of know how to use it. Obviously, this message is getting to you. And it sounds okay, right? But when you go to the audiobook distribution people, they are very specific on the type of encoding that you use, the levels. They don't want things clipping. They want a certain what they call noise floor. I don't know what that means. So I got to figure that out. I've got to worry about the technical specs. Obviously, there's performance that I need to worry about. Pretty confident in that, though, because as far as performance goes, with this book, I've got a lot more experience as far as broadcasting and podcasting than I had with the last book. Let's say that was 6 or 7 years ago when I voiced the last book that I did. When I started podcasting, I was going into a professional radio studio. Now, I built a studio in my house. So I've got a lot more access to studio time, can do it anytime I want, and therefore have a lot more experience. I'm not worried about the performance, pretty confident, but still, can I keep it up? Can it be consistent? Am I going to slur my words? How long is this going to take? You can kind of psych yourself out when sitting on the front end of a project like this. The biggest reason that I'm psyching myself out is the fear that I'm going to get done and this book that I've recorded, all this audio, the editing, all the work that I put into it, it's not accepted by the audio distribution company. And that's not really the performance quality, but because of the technical issues, the noise floor, the peaking, the popping of the piece, whatever. There's so much that could go wrong. So let me walk you through the process of what I'm doing to make sure that nothing does go wrong in the event that you're going to voice your audiobook or use your podcasting skills to voice the books of others. There's a test plugin that you can get from ACX, which is the company that I'm going to distribute through. And I'm going to explain that here in a second. You attach the plugin to your recording software. It lets you know if your audio meets its technical specifications. A third thing that I'm doing, because I'm being super anal about this, is I'm purchasing a brand new shock mount for the microphone that I've got. I don't have a shock mount on this. And a shock mount, if you're not familiar with that term, is basically a bunch of rubber bands. It's a bunch of rubber bands and bungee cords, and it keeps your mic from bouncing around. So if you hit a table or if there's some kind of vibration that's going to make the mic pick up a sound that you don't mean for it to pick up, a shock mount is supposed to help with that. I don't have one in the mic that I'm currently using. Normally don't use one when I'm in the recording studio. It's, kind of optional. I'm not trying to make a Grammy-winning album here. I'm trying to get content to you. But I'm not taking any chances. So $99 for a shock mount. Can you believe it? I mean, most podcasters don't even spend that much on a microphone. You can get some really great stuff for under $99, but apparently not the shock mount that fits the microphone that I've got, which, by the way, is the BP40 by Audio-Technica. So here's the audiobook process. Audiobook Creation Exchange. ACX is what it's called. It's owned by Audible, which is owned by Amazon. And the reason that I'm going through them, I think it's one of those 80-20 deals, maybe even 90-10. Most audiobooks are sold via Audible or sold via Amazon. Audible's got all these distribution partners. Your book is going to go everywhere. It makes it easy for me to upload my book to one place, worry about one set of audio specifications. And because I'm dealing only with them, I can sign an exclusive deal, which gives me an even better royalty rate. So less hassle, better royalties. I'm going to record it, then I'm going to upload it, they're going to distribute it. Here's the great thing about working with ACX. They cater to a lot of amateur voiceover people because Audible, they're trying to have everything available via audiobook. You've heard Amazon called the everything store. Audible is the everything store of audiobooks. They want everything. And part of what they're doing to make this happen is they're putting out a lot of educational material that shows people how to get good quality audio. There are a lot of informational videos, walkthroughs, other documents. They show you exactly what you need to do to get the kind of audio quality that you need to have your book on ACX. So this is great for me. I'm using ACX. They're telling me exactly how to do it. So this is my next month. The book, as I mentioned, 93,000 words. As I also mentioned, 5-to-1 ratio. Every hour of finished audio, it's going to take me about 5 hours to do it. This book is probably 9 hours of finished audio, 45 hours of work. That's what's ahead of me. I've got 52 chapters. Here's what I'm going to do. 2 chapters over 26 days. Starting in a few days, once I go through Jody's edits, get the shock mount installed, get the print copy from the copy shop. It's going to be double spaced so I can make any markups. I'm going to get in the studio and I'm going to go for it. That is what I'm focusing on this month. Also, when I'm not in the studio, I'll be finishing out that cover copy, getting that ready. Once I know the manuscript is okay, everything goes to layout. After that, more marketing stuff, setting up interviews to promote the book, getting promo copies out. This is one of the reasons that I'm blazing through this audiobook, or hope to. I hope to get everything recorded, go back and edit it, because I want to get the print book out to people as soon as possible. So I'll be able to set up these interviews, set up all the promotional stuff that I need to have ahead of time for the launch in a couple of months. Episodes with more of this aspect of things are coming. Between these episodes, if you're interested in hearing more from me, check out my other podcast. It is called Build a Big Podcast. And that is something that this book will be supporting. It is a podcast about podcasting, specifically about how to market yourself through a podcast. And that's what the book is about as well. Thank you for listening to Red Podcast. Thank you for going through this journey with me. It has been a lot of work, but it has been rewarding work. It feels great. Starting the new year, ready to get this book out to you. And I'm ready to see what you and others do with this information, because I think it's going to help a lot of people. But my book is showing you how to get your message out to people, how to influence them with your words. As one guy, there's only so much I can do, but if I can show other people, have them show other people how to get their messages out there, we can do a lot. We can make the world a better place. I want to be that first domino that pushes all the other dominoes over. That's when big things get accomplished. So that's what's coming up. To make sure you don't miss any of this, subscribe. Redpodcast.com is how to do that. you'll find different links. You're on Android, got your link. You're on an iPhone, I got a link for you. You like RSS feeds? I've got a link for you. However you get your podcast, got you covered. redpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. I'll see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to Red Podcast. Never miss an episode. Subscribe now with your iPhone, Android, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.